Hello sweet team, welcome back to my channel. This is Sweet Agile. Our long awaited meat pie recipe is here, so I'm not gonna talk too much. We are getting right into it. So to begin, I like to make my own homemade ground beef, and I do that by just getting my favorite cut of meat and I just cut it up and parboil it off the stove. Now if you want to know how I parboil off the stove, please check out my beef sauce recipe. All right, yes y'all. So once everything is cut up and I go ahead and wash and parboil it, I put it in my blender. To that I'm going to add some green onions and half a medium onion, and I'm going to grind this meat and onions together, so you know we're already building up on the flavor. Now it's nice and ready. We're going to go ahead and add some coconut oil into our pot. To that we'll add our meat and we're going to brown this or steam it, and I'll season it with some onion powder, garlic powder, beef seasoning, a little bit of salt to taste, and also cayenne pepper. Now the pepper is optional. I just like some heat to my food. Okay, so once we mix everything together, we allow it to cook while we measure out the rest of our ingredients. So after I measure my flour, I'll use the same cup to measure my butter. You want to use the same cup for everything so that you have the right measurements. Okay, I then slice up some onions and set it aside. At this point my meats have cooked nicely, so I'm going to add some water to it to cook it some more, and I'll add it to the same level as the meat and I'll let it cook down halfway. Once it's cooked down, I'm going to dilute a tablespoon of cornstarch and add it to my sauce to thicken it up. It's going to make it very nice and moist, and I hope you've made your cornstarch. Alright, so after I add this, I'm going to give it a good stir, cover it halfway, and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, it is ready, so we're just going to turn the heat off and let it cool down completely. Yes, it has to be cooled completely. So now we work on our dough, and I have my cold butter and shortening, and you always want to level your cups when you use it to measure up. Alright, I have my baking powder and my salt, and I'm going to add that and mix it well. Then I'll add my butter and shortening, and using my pastry blender I'm going to mix it very well. But if you don't have a pastry blender, you can go ahead and use your spatula, a spoon, a fork. The reason being, you don't want to put your warm hand in your cold mix immediately, because your butter and stuff will start to melt and you don't want that. Once it's done, you should be able to ball it up and it should hold itself, but then also crumble very well at the same time. Next, I'm going to add my 6 tablespoons of water, very cold water, but I don't add all of it at the same time, because if you add too much, you're going to end up having to add more flour, which will take away from the richness of your dough. Okay, so I add it bit by bit until I'm satisfied, and then I begin to mold it. And now we're going to go ahead and knead it a bit, so we kind of put it together and then mold it until we form a nice soft dough. So we do knead our pie dough a bit, and this is the perfect dough that I'm going for. The texture is perfect for me, so I'm going to divide it in half, wrap it up nicely, and let it rest in my refrigerator for about 30 minutes, and by then everything should be nice and cold for us to work with. Alright, at this point our meat is nice and cold, so I'm adding some fresh onions, and that's it, we're done. The next step though, I use eggs and milk as my egg wash. So I just beat it together and set it aside. Then I'm going to divide my dough into the pieces that I'm going to use. And if it's too small, you can always add more. Like here, it's too small, so I'm just adding a bit more. Making sure not to work it too much. Rolling a big dough out and then cutting all those rounds will cause you to create more gluten, and your pie then becomes hard and crunchy in a way you don't want that. You want it nice and mushy and flaky. Okay, now if you're using your pie mold, you don't want to press it out. Once you lay it in, leave it like that, and you put your filling, you know, add water to the sides so that it seals nicely. As soon as you close it, you don't have a lot of excess. But if you spread it out to the edges, then you are definitely going to be having a lot of excess dough to cut off. And this is the thickness that I go for. I love this thickness. It's perfect. You can go thicker or thinner. It's totally up to you. But my personal favorite tool to mold my pie is the lid. I'm telling you guys, it's an old-time favorite, and I think it gives me much beautiful pie than the pie mold. Okay, I like that, but you can choose which one you like best. All right, so with that, once I roll it out, I just cut out the size of the lid. I add my filling, you know, add the seal in the end. With the aid of my thumb, I press it together, and then with my index finger, I just make my nice indentations, and the design is just beautiful. I love it. Now I use a plastic fork for my pokes because it comes out so easily. It's perfect. I don't know, I hate the regular silverware. This works perfectly for me. I then egg wash it, and into our oven it goes, and the oven is set at 350 degrees. It's preheated already, and I'm going to be baking this. Mine baked for 35 minutes, and they came out just nice and golden brown. But know your oven and how well it works and how many minutes you keep it in. I like this perfect golden brown color. You could go darker, you could go lighter, and there you have it. Our pie is nice. It is ready. But I can talk plenty. If I don't show you all how it looks inside, then it's pointless. Look at that. With a push, it cracks open. The crust is nice and rich. The filling is nice and moist. Do try this recipe, my sweets. You are not going to regret it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to my channel. This is Sweet Achille. Thank you so much for subscribing. And to the sweet team, I love you all so much. Until I see you in my next video, stay safe, keep loving each other, and guys, ke unamini ochemi sweete mahabotu. Bye y'all.